I'd like to give a warm welcome to my viewers in 65 countries. Today we're going to do a radio broadcast, and January 11th happens to be my birthday, so I wanted to share it with everyone, and I want to thank you so much for listening today. For any of those of you who have suffered from anxiety in particular or depression, I'd like to say that anxiety in particular is, in my view, is often a sign that you need to make some changes in your routine. Okay, so as an example, some of the most common anxieties are in the United States: driving anxiety, airplane anxiety, and giving a speech in public. Those are probably the three most common. But there are people that have anxiety just working at the office, and I've actually been an executive coach to both men and women who suffer from anxiety. It's just as common in men as women. There are a lot of men out there suffering, and I want to make sure that they hear this message as well about anxiety and depression, because it's important to be able to discuss it openly and also get the help you need from family and friends. Perhaps cognitive therapy helps as well. That definitely, having a sounding board either through a psychologist and or an executive coach can definitely help you through difficult times. A lot of it is reframing the way that you think about things. There are a lot of leaders who are highly sensitive, and for those people who are leaders who are highly sensitive, it's important to not overextend yourself when it comes to things like travel, airplanes, driving, and have more time for things like meditation, listening to classical music, being able to have alone time. Especially if you're an introvert on Myers-Briggs, it's really important that you have quiet time every day, actually. So for you extroverts out there, bullpen environments, by the way, are very bad for introverted people and for highly sensitive people, because their central nervous systems become more stimulated, and therefore they often need more quiet time. So I just say to all the CEOs out there who are extroverts, be aware of the fact that there are introverted people and highly sensitive leaders who need private offices, because otherwise they notice every noise, every person, everything is much louder to them, and that's one of the reasons they can't concentrate when they're around noise of any kind. And that's very important for you CEOs to know, because they're some of the most talented people on the planet. And also to work at home a couple of days a week, and that will kind of get them back on track. They can still do the virtual video calls and telephone calls and whatever they need to do for their work, but they need quiet time, and that will help get the anxiety under control. Now, for those of you who have feelings of sadness or depression, you certainly want to talk to a doctor about it. But I want to point out that if you're just having sort of mild mood changes, it's different than if you're on the floor and you can't get up. I mean, that's full-scale depression, which is a very serious illness. Having said that, if you're just feeling kind of sad, or it's something more of a mood change, that is something that is more treatable with regard to exercise, meditation, and also finding creative outlets. There's a wonderful story about Edith Wharton, one of my favorite writers. Her home is called The Mount, up in the Berkshires. Some of you have probably visited it. And you take the tour, it's very fascinating. But her doctor had told her that she needed to start writing because she was depressed. And once she found that creative outlet, she was able to take all of her creativity and all of her talents and all of her imagination and put it into creative work, which solved her depression. So for some people, it means that you need to find some outlet for your creative talents. And once you do that, you'll be able to put that energy into something that gives you a lot of fulfillment. So I want to point that out to anyone who may suffer mood changes and wants to figure out a way to become happier. You also may find that if you're a sensitive person, that you are sensitive to the sunlight and lack of sunlight. So if it's a gray day, you may find, or if you live in a place where it's you don't get sun as much, you may find that you have more sad feelings or depressive thoughts, that can actually affect you as well. And there's some remedies for that, obviously being in a climate that has more sunshine, or getting the sun lamps and so forth. But I would just invite you all to read more books about these topics and to realize that a lot of people have feelings, throughout their life, challenges throughout their life. If you go through a major life event, whether it be a divorce, the loss of a loved one, these are all things that can bring on mood changes, anxiety, depressive thoughts. And so sometimes you will need the medicines, but sometimes you can also work on it, these life challenges, through having more support from friends and family, or even attending a church, in church environments or synagogue environments, or whatever your religion is. Try and reach out to some religious leaders as well. By finding spirituality, even if it's reading books by, some of my favorite spiritual authors are Deepak Chopra and Marianne Williamson. Reading some of their books can be very inspiring. I've read both of them and attended some of their seminars, certainly Deepak Chopra seminars. I had the chance to meet him on a couple of occasions. Very interesting man. And the other thing I would point out is that classical music, especially listening to Mozart, will also improve your mood. Try that. If you find that you need some uplifting thoughts, listening to negative news and negative music is going to have more of a depressing effect. But if you listen to happy music, and Mozart is a great solution, you will often feel better. And I found putting on classical music and walking on the treadmill is a great revive for me. So I would ask all of you to try and incorporate these things into your daily life. The other thing that's really helpful is not to go to violent movies. I actually don't go to any violent movies anymore. And I am careful about what movies I do go to. I make sure that I've seen some clips and know what I'm getting into before I sit there for 2 hours of my life. My time, as you get older, I think your time becomes more valuable. And so I'm very careful about what TV shows or movies I listen to. I think there are a lot of things that are very negative. I don't watch much television news. I actually watch more YouTube videos and listen to people's speeches directly on videos on YouTube, because I do read 25 global publications. As some of you know, I am a top business thinker, so it's my job to be well informed. But I find that reading negative news is a little easier on me than listening to other people's interpretations. I do listen to some, but for a top business thinker, I need to form my own conclusions. So I read a lot of sources before I form my conclusions. I would just say to all of you, I would like all of you to think differently about how you view your life if you are suffering from any anxious or depressive thoughts. Because for the men out there, and you can read articles written by men about this, that when you do share with friends and family that you are going through troubling times, it definitely helps to communicate it to friends and family, to let them know what you need. And again, just because you're having anxious thoughts, it doesn't mean you have a mental illness, okay? It just means you need to improve your mental health. And if you think of your mental health like any other kind of health, physical health, well-being, there are things that can help you along. Even foods that you eat, like as an example, I always feel better when I have vegetables. Little chocolate will raise your serotonin. Actually, unsalted almonds are very good for you. That also is kind of a happy food. So there are certain foods that you can buy also that are more likely to raise your serotonin. In fact, bananas are one of the quickest ways to feel better. Put a little peanut butter on a banana and you'll get protein with it as well, but you get potassium, little serotonin in there, and bananas have been called a miracle food for that reason. So I have a banana every day. I believe that for those of you who may have done things the same way for a long time, sometimes it just involves, especially as you get into your 40s and 50s, you need to do things differently. So you may need to cut back on the travel. You may need to have priorities that will allow you to have your mental health and your physical health in better condition. I used to think I was invincible, and I used to do everything. And I've hit a hole-in-one, and I've won a skeet tournament, and I've driven to Daytona on the back of a motorcycle, and I've done a lot of interesting things in my life. But so I've proven myself. Okay, I've proven myself. If you're a feeler on Myers-Briggs, especially for those of you who are F or feeler on Myers-Briggs, your feelings count. And if you've been not expressing them and you're a feeler on Myers-Briggs, there's going to be a lot of anxiety pent up in you. So it can also be because you're around people that aren't feelers. So if you're a feeler on Myers-Briggs, you need to be around some other feelers. Sometimes the corporate world can be hard on people because it's very thinking oriented. But there's a reason you're feelers, and you belong in the corporate world too. And that you need to make sure that you incorporate some things that make sense for your personality type. And if you want to take the Myers-Briggs test online, you can look it up online. It's a wonderful test. Once you know your Myers-Briggs, you'll learn a lot more about yourself as well as the people on your team or your boss. So I encourage you to find it out and to ask your HR person to do some testing so that you can find out who the people that work with you are, what they are in Myers-Briggs as well. A lot of these things can be solved through executive coaching, so I would invite all of you to contact me at www.parthenonadvisors.com. I am happy to help you on any of these topics, and I don't replace a doctor, but I do believe that in addition to seeing a doctor, a medical doctor, or a psychologist, I do like psychologists incorporated into this as well. Certainly cognitive psychology has a lot of benefits. I think it's important also to consider coaching, because coaching, executive coaching, career coaching, life coaching, is about looking forward. So in addition to looking backwards, you need to look forward, and to look forward to the future, you need to create a bright future. And to create a bright future, sometimes you do need an executive coach or life coach involved in that process, or career coach. So I am here for you. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can answer, and that is my birthday gift to you. So I'd like to thank the whole world for watching and listening. Thanks so much. I'm Sandra Rupp. I was placed on the Thinkers 50 Guru Radar list for the world's top business thinkers for my thought leadership on the yin and yang of leadership. I believe that the feminine, masculine leadership styles make a great team. Stay tuned. And please subscribe to all my videos at YouTube, Career Expert. You can also find my new DVD on Amazon.com. It's also available in a video on demand, and I'm really proud of it because it took 2 years to make. It's called Career Navigation: 7 Steps to Success. Thanks so much for listening and for watching.